What's going on? I'm Scott from Koenig, and today we got a special one for you. It's another frequently asked question video that you've asked frequently. That's why we're here. We're answering them. Stay tuned. So before we talk about all of these questions about wheel fitment, let's talk about the thing that you should be doing right now, and that's clicking that like button and subscribing down below. So in today's FAQ, we're going to be talking about all questions that relate to wheel fitment. One of the questions that we seem to get the most actually is nothing about wheels. It's about tires. You ask us what tire size my wheel wants me to run, and here's the truth. Your wheel doesn't want you to run any size. It doesn't know the difference. The only thing that a wheel knows is diameter. So if you have a 17-inch wheel, any 17-inch tire will technically go onto the wheel. So how do you find out what the right tire size is? Well, there's a couple ways. The first way is you can deal with a wheel and tire professional. They can help you find the right size for your car. We've talked about this in other videos. You want to keep the correct overall rolling diameter of the total assembly correct. That's number one. The second piece of this is that every tire manufacturer, especially when it comes down to specific models of tires, they have an approved rim width. And we can't dictate what that is, which means that when you ask us for tire size, we can give you the book spit out of what would fit in your car as a stock fit. But what we can't do is we can't tell you that the model tire that you're going to buy will work in our wheel. So that is something that you're going to want to take up with a tire professional, or calling the manufacturer and looking on their website to try to find the approved rim width. We're not trying to be difficult. We want to help you. Sometimes there's variables that we just don't know. So consider this as a warning, and your question is now answered. Another frequent topic that we get asked questions about has to do with brakes. Does the wheel fit over your brakes? So there are a couple things you could do here. Again, we've covered this in other videos. You can send an email to fitment@koenigwheels.com and include your aftermarket brake kit brake caliper template. We'll check it for you and we'll get it back to you, and we'll let you know if the wheel that you're looking for actually fits. The other thing you can do is you can give us a call, send us a DM, or visit a local wheel and tire professional. All of these things should help you result into either getting a concrete answer or finding out we need to do a little bit more investigative homework. If you're looking for more information about this, go check out the video on our YouTube channel that actually goes through these points and so many more in depth. Moving on to another dreaded frequently asked question we get, and that is about spacers. Do you see the kind of theme that's happening here? Not many of these frequently asked questions actually have to do with the wheel, but you ask if you can use spacers in your wheel. There are a couple things here, and some of the things you have to understand is we can't condone the use of spacers. Not because we don't know that they exist, not because we don't know that people use them. It's because there's so many variables that can lead to disaster. So let's talk about a few things. Does a spacer fit over your wheel? The question really has to do with that cavity-backed portion of the wheel. There's a lot of information going on there, and the truth is it's not something that we can always tell you, because the hardware and where the hardware sits has a tremendous amount to do with whether that spacer and that hardware will actually clear the wheel's mounting surface. You have to understand, a lot of these spacer questions that we are asked, we can answer hypothetically, but we can't answer concretely. Just something to keep in mind when you ask us questions like this. We're not trying to be difficult, but we're trying to keep you safe, and sometimes safety means kind of not being able to answer the question. Another thing you should understand is when it comes down to the wheel development, we actually try to come up with a good offset range to give you some options as far as where the wheel will sit. But again, this goes according to Fitment. We understand people are going to run wide body kits or do some things like flares that may require some extra spacing. Again, understand where we're coming from in the sense that our top priority is still just to keep you safe. So another frequently asked question we get has to do with fastening hardware, lug nuts, lug bolts. Here's the thing. When it comes down to aftermarket wheels, most aftermarket wheels are going to require you to run a conical seat, 60-degree taper, lug nut, or lug bolt. And pretty much that's the only thing that we can comment on. Every car is going to have a specific lug nut thread pitch and size. And that doesn't matter if it's going to be a lug bolt or if it's going to be a lug nut. The difference here is that there's a couple variables with a lug bolt, one of them being the length. Most of the time, you're going to be able to use your stock length hardware. But if you've done anything like spacers, or if your wheel mounting surface is going to be a little bit thicker than your original wheel, then you may have to compensate. So keep that in mind on lug bolt hardware. But for the most part, the size, the thread pitch, all that stuff, it's very OE and should be found in your owner's manual. So rounding out the last frequently asked question topic we get about wheel fitment, and it has to do with offset. So this kind of relates to the wheel spacer thing, right? We try to develop offsets that are based for most popular passenger cars and to clear most popular passenger brakes. Sometimes we won't have exactly what you need, but the one thing you need to know when it comes down to offset is there's clearly a range for every width that is the right type of fit for your car. And once you leave that zone, you're kind of on your own. Not in the sense that you may not be able to find the information on the forums, not in the sense that you may not be able to kind of do the math and see exactly where the wheel will sit, but you can't get that concrete assurance. To ask us to give you advice about if a wheel will fit once it leaves that approved width and offset range, it's something that we can't do. So just keep that in mind. We are cognizant that people do things more custom. We're in an aftermarket industry, we get it. But to look for affirmation from us that something that doesn't technically fit is going to fit isn't the place where you should be looking for that. So do your homework. We're happy to tell you the stuff that does fit and let you know when it gets over the line and becomes aggressive. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today. You frequently ask the questions. We somewhat frequently answered them. Anyhow, that's it for this one, and we will catch you on the next one.